The presidential candidate for the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, made 4 allegations yesterday in his statement. One, that the government and its senior officials have mobilized to campaign for Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance presidential candidate. Two, that the national government administrative officers, especially chiefs and their assistants, are being mobilized to rig next week's general elections against the UDA presidential candidate through suppression of voter turnout and or buying or holding identification cards. Three, that the Cabinet Secretary and the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government and government administrative officers in the Rift Valley, and they actually named 4 of our officers, I'm going to talk about them, have been holding meetings illegally and planning to provoke ethnic conflict in that part of our country. And fourthly, that the government, through the Communication Authority of Kenya and the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, plans to interfere with the conduct of the general elections by disrupting the communication networks and electricity supply. I have expressed clearance from the president to do this press conference because I couldn't if I didn't have clearance from the president to do it, because that is how an orderly country is run. Two, you go to the National Security Advisory Committee after that, and the National Security Advisory Committee is comprised of the technical officers, the heads of the security agencies, and the others, who manage the security institutions across the country. Then from there we go to the respective ministries, and from the ministries we go to the regions, from the regions we go to the counties, from the counties we go to the sub-counties, all the way to the sub-locations. Right from the sub-location, the assistant chief chairs the security committee at the sub-location level. The chief chairs the security committee at the location level, and all the way to the National Security Council. The security sector is a very regimented arrangement. You don't have the freedom, and you have no capacity to work outside of it. When we take decisions, for example, if we have to communicate policy to the chiefs and to the DCs and to the regional commissioners, it has got to flow directly from the National Security Council. I am not aware, because there doesn't exist a discussion that has happened at the National Security Council authorizing us to meet the chiefs and instruct them to campaign for anyone. And if His Excellency the Deputy President has got evidence to that effect, he should provide it to the public, because that evidence would reside in the minutes of the National Security Council or in the agenda of the National Security Council, and then that communication will be translated in a memo by the head of the public service, who is a secretary to the council, which I have not seen. I am not aware of it. Have public servants been mobilized to campaign for any particular candidate? The answer is no. Because that information would be resident in a circular by the head of the public service. I have not seen one. I have not seen any communication from the Public Service Commission itself to public servants. And public servants are all governed by a code of conduct, which is very strict on how these things are supposed to be done. Thirdly, my friends, all meetings we have with chiefs and assistant chiefs are held in public. We either meet in county commissioners' offices, in church halls, in schools. The most recent meeting that PS Kibicho and I had with the chiefs of Nyamira and Kisii was held at Tombe Girls, in a public school, a public place where everybody can access. Government is not a secret society. These allegations create an impression that government has been operating like a secret society. Government is not a secret society which meets somewhere under a tree and conspires. We're not engaged in any conspiracy against anyone. And the things we do are guided by an agenda, and in most cases we take notes of this. And I am not aware, and we have never had meetings anywhere to instruct chiefs or instruct assistant chiefs to do whatever needs to be done. Fourthly, which I think is an important point to make, the interface between national government and county governments in the implementation of public policy is done through the national government administration. We have worked with chiefs and assistant chiefs and our deputy county commissioners on 100% transition. We have worked with them on the war against FGM. We have worked with them on the gender violence. We've worked with them on a huge number of issues before. And we hold these meetings openly. Right now, as I speak to you, the Ministry of Health is running a campaign jointly with the Ministry of Interior on the triple threats, the resurging numbers of HIV/AIDS cases across the country, gender violence, sexual harassment, and so on. And the Ministry of Health officials and health parastatals are teaming up with chiefs and assistant chiefs across the country to hold meetings, such as happened in Kiambu last week, and the meetings are taking place across the country. If you see chiefs and assistant chiefs meeting with public health officials, that is what they are discussing. And all these people going there, how can it be that we go to those meetings to discuss elections or voting for this person or the other person? There's nothing truthful about this. All these are just lies. Plainly speaking. Have the PS and the CS been involved in mobilizing chiefs and intimidating them? How can you do it? Because we are bound by our constitution, we are bound by our law. We work in a manner that we know we must be accountable for the things we do. And for anything we do, we can and will be called to account, on anything we do. I am not aware, and actually I can speak authoritatively, that my peers and I have not engaged in these kinds of things. Every time we have had meetings, we sit down with these wonderful people to review security deployment, to do, planning for the country, to ensure that, our people are being sorted out and are being managed well across the country. I was in Molo the day before yesterday, where we had a large meeting looking at what are the issues that we have to deal with? Are we prepared? Are we ready? With all the 14 county commissioners and all the 14 county police commanders and the teams that form or comprise the Rift Valley. And we've done this the week before I was in Coast Province for the same reasons. We are not meeting to tell chiefs what to do. Finally, suffice it to say, chiefs are not children. They are not 12-year-olds to be guided and to be dictated upon. I can tell you for a fact, about half of the chiefs and assistant chiefs in the country are even older than me. Some of these are seasoned people, very experienced people, very well trained. We have relied upon them on a number of issues. Now, it's very sad, honestly, that the Deputy President singles out 4 of our senior administrators. The County Commissioner for Uasin Gishu, Mr. Kihara, the County Commissioner for Nakuru, Mr. Mbui, the County Commissioner for Trans Nzoia, Mr. Ojwang, and our Regional Commissioner for Rift Valley. And to make allegations that are not substantiated, my friend, even the most rudimentary way of addressing issues, even the most basic of common senses, will tell you that if you allege that a meeting has taken place, supply the dates and say, on 17th of July, at this particular time, Mr. Mali Mohammed, the Regional Commissioner for Rift Valley, met A, B, C, D. How can you, honestly, make claims like those against senior administrators, just sweeping claims that you cannot substantiate, you are not able to prove that these people are having night meetings, they are moving around and so on and so forth? It is unfortunate that is coming from a senior leader in the country. We know these officers, they work for us. We work with them. We have faith in these 4 officers. Our 47 county commissioners in the country, our 8 regional commissioners in the country are some of the senior-most officials in the national government administration. Some of them are very highly trained and experienced people. Mr. Malim, who's being insulted in this case and being accused falsely, is a decorated officer. Our new regional commissioner for Rift Valley, Mr. Malim Mohammed, is a decorated officer who has an impeccable record, and his file is there for everyone to see, who has served as county commissioner in more than 6 counties in the country. His performance has been rewarded even by the Public Service Commission. He has been named the Public Servant of the Year before, even before we ourselves started working with him. This is a decorated officer who is now being accused of doing illegal things. It is unfair that you would treat public officers in this kind of manner. And on that note, I want to say this to all my brothers and sisters in the National Government Administration and in the police service, at all ranks, from Assistant Chief to Regional Commissioner, from police constables to the Inspector General. You are the people who have held this country together during times of challenge such as this. Unfortunately, we cannot speak like them, like the politicians speak. So we don't have the licenses of language to insult people and say all manner of things. Let us mind our country. There's a country to manage. Ignore these things. Do not be discouraged and do not be heartbroken. Do not be disheartened. We will all be accused of all manner of things. I know that at a time like this during the campaign, nerves are raw, and people are now venting their frustrations, their bent-up emotions and disappointments and so on, are all now being vented, and the anger is being projected on public administrators. Let us carry on. Many of my senior colleagues, like the regional commissioners, Mr. Thuku is here, have done elections more than I have done. Some of our senior police officers who are standing here with me, our Deputy Inspector General of Police, Mr. Mbowa, DIG Kabo, and all these wonderful people, our own Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kinoti, you've done elections before, more than now. Let us just persevere, remain focused on the work that we have to do, and deliver for the country. That is the work we have at hand. And we cannot speak like those people. We don't have that license of lying, to the public and saying things we cannot justify. Unfortunately, though, I have also noted cases where members of that group of politicians even try to single out the chiefs and name chiefs and try to profile chiefs and so on. On that particular one, I want to be very frank. Mr. Kinoti knows this. We are documenting every one of these criminal activities because profiling public servants like chiefs and assistant chiefs, circulating their numbers and accusing them falsely, is endangering the lives of our public servants. These crimes are not covered by the statute of limitation. Some of these leaders need to know they can and will actually be held to account at some point in their lives for some of these things. People have to be responsible in the things they do. I can't stand up in the country and point out and say Mr. Gabo is doing ABCD when I have no evidence. So that now I incite the public against the DIG in charge of administration. This is irresponsible behavior. And this is unconscionable conduct. But for some of these leaders, they think it's fair game and it's okay to say the things they are saying and to do the things they are doing. But it's unfortunate for our country. Finally, and I'm going to give you a copy of this statement. Kenyans need to know this. The government has not mobilized any public servants to campaign for anybody, period. Chiefs and assistant chiefs have not been mobilized or instructed to campaign for anyone, period. We do not operate that way. Our responsibility is defined by the law. We are working very hard, working with fellow Kenyans to ensure we support the IEBC to conduct free and fair elections. That we shall do with commitment. We will look neither to the right nor to the left. We will remain focused on that goal to ensure that we serve our people. I am not aware of any scheme or any effort to influence the Communications Authority of Kenya or any effort to influence the Kenya Power and Lighting to switch off power. Sometimes in a civilized world, some of these claims, I find them too cheap and too ridiculous to even think about. And when they come from the mouths of senior leaders, you sometimes don't know whether to laugh or cry. It's so petty to imagine that an organization that enjoys such institutional autonomy and protection by the law, like the Communications Authority of Kenya, would resort to such primitive things like, interfering. We have said this several times before. I'm as Minister for Interior, I'm the one who would invoke the Public Order Act. We have said it several times because this is a matter that we have all discussed and agreed. We are not going to shut down the internet. We are not going to interfere with social media and so on. Why would we do that? Kenya is come of age. Kenyans are mature people. I agree with His Excellency, the Deputy President. It's true, Kenya has a shortage of fools. And I think that applies more to some of those petty claims that he's making and so on than anything else. Because really, how would you, Communication Authority of Kenya, with the reputation they have. By the way, people forget, we sit at the International Telecommunication Union as a country, at the ITU. We are very respected at the ATU. Kenya has taken its place of pride and honor in the ICT sector in the globe. How would we resort to doing some of those petty things like, shut down the internet, or CAK has been instructed by who? To do what? There is nothing. There is no evidence in any of those claims that have been made. And I think at best, and this is my conclusion, Kenyans should just ignore those things, treat them with the extreme contempt they deserve, and focus on the election day. Let us go, like law-abiding citizens, queue, vote, elect our leaders, and wait for what the IBC will tell us. Our democracy has come of age. This is a wonderful country, and God has been gracious to us. We will do our bit, as I believe every Kenyan is determined to do their bit to ensure we have a free and fair election. And ignore these bent-up frustrations that are being vented on security officials and chiefs and so on. We just are on the receiving end of some people's frustrations and disappointments and unnecessary anger and so on. Thank you. I can take a few questions. Sisi hatujamjibu. But you see, when you ask that question, it's two-way. Do we have a problem with His Excellency the Deputy President, or he has a problem with us? That is something we need to figure out. Kwa sababu, sometimes I ask this, and please allow me on this particular one, I'm going to break out of the edict of collective responsibility. Yeah, so I was saying, on this particular one, sometimes I ask myself the question, does His Excellency the Deputy President think anything of anybody? If you look at our sector, there's a pattern to this. I may be mistaken to think, in my view, from the observations I have had, and I'll be very frank with you, that maybe there are two groups of public servants in his worldview. The group that would worship him and bows to him and kiss his shoes, which are the group of human beings, or the group that has the temerity even to say no or seek clarification, which is a group of animals. In our sector alone, who does he think anything about? Kinoti ni Mujinga, Inspector General is incompetent, Kibicho and myself are animals, and it's a pattern to this. For the time I have been at the Ministry of Interior, I can say this publicly, he likes to quote God. But God is seeing all of us talking here. The pressure under which we have come before to even sack Natembea, for example. I have not seen a regional commissioner in Rift Valley that the DP did not want sacked. We came under intense pressure to fire Natembea, even as county commissioner in Narok, then as regional commissioner to fire him from him, insisting he must be fired, even without providing reasons why we should fire him. I think sometimes, as I said, there is a pattern to this, because if you look at the entirety of the security sector, the way we are standing here, if Kinoti ni Mujinga, Inspector General is useless, and these are officers, our DCI is somebody who has been respected enough by his colleagues on the continent to be elected to the board of Interpol. Our Inspector General is somebody who has been respected enough by his colleagues to be elected the president of Afripol. So, on full view of the TV screens, his colleagues, fellow inspectors general across the continent, see his senior insulting him and calling him incompetent. Don't worry about me. Maybe me and PS Kibicho are the animals he describes us to be, or whatever the case may be. Does he think anything about anybody? So it's a question where you should ask yourself, is it us who have a problem with him, or he has a problem with us? But I think for the record, and on this particular, and I can speak for my brother here, how can you have a problem with your senior? We don't have a problem. Hatuna shida na yeye at all. Sisi tumepewa majukumu ya kufanya, na sisi ni watumishi wa serikali. Tunafanya vile tunaamrishwa na wakubwa wetu. Na yeye ni mmoja wa wakubwa wetu. Lakini yale ambayo sisi hatuwezi kufanya, hatuwezi kuvunja sheria. Na hata yeye mwenyewe anaelewa. Wakati tumehitilafiana, wakati mambo anataka tuvunje sheria, labda hapo ndio shida iko. Labda shida ya Kibicho na mimi ni kusema la. Two letter word, no. Kusema no for something. And even these officers I know, vile wanatusiwa ni kwa sababu labda wakati mwingine wamesema hapana kwa mambo fulani kama hayo. Kwa hivyo sisi hatuna shida na yeye, labda ana shida na sisi yeye mwenyewe, lakini mimi sijamuuliza na sijakuwa na nafasi ya kumuuliza, na labda sitakuwa na nafasi ya kumuuliza kwa sababu najua katika protocol ya serikali, unajua hata mkono huwezi kunyoosha mkono kwa mkubwa wako, unangojea mkubwa wako akusalimie. Yeye mwenyewe ndiye anakuambia vile tunaendelea. Sasa siku ile atatuambia vile sisi ni nyang'au ni nini, sote tutaendelea tu, lakini nafikiri wazazi wetu wanajua hawakuzaa nyang'au, walizaa binadamu.